Zero Dark 30, 13th of April, 2015. Aden's outer harbor. The dark interior of the Chinook is packed with men and kit. The interior looks like a mess of padding and straps, metal struts, and panels, but everything is exactly where it is supposed to be, and everything is there for a reason. The only sound that can be heard is the discordant, high-pitched whining and thrumming as every single thing in the chopper rattles and clatters, with the vibration of the twin rotors overhead. After an hour in the Chinook, the soldiers don't hear the engine sound anymore. It is just white noise in an otherwise soundless environment. 7 men stand alongside 2 Zodiacs, 15-foot-long inflatable boats that they are readying to push into the sea. Each boat is carefully packed with strapped-down equipment, bulging backpacks, AK-47s, ammunition, waterproof night vision devices, and radios.
I'm Dr. Mike Knights, and I am the Bernstein Fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. So the new book that I've released is 25 Days to Aden, the untold story of Arabian elite forces at war. And it is a story about the Yemen war, which has raged since 2015 until the present day. This is about the first battle in the Yemen war, in which a group of Yemeni tribesmen defended their home city of Aden, which is on the Gulf of Oman, and they were supported in this by a small cell of Emirati special forces. They managed, with their backs to the sea, to hold their position and then to secure their pocket, and then eventually to break out and pursue the Houthis for 100 kilometers in every direction. 25 Days to Aden is a great introduction to what's happening within the Yemen war and Yemen itself at the moment. The book helps the layman to understand a little bit about what the current war is about and how it started and who are the key players. So I embedded with Gulf Coalition forces in the Yemen war from 2015 through to 2018. And in that process, I began to talk to the UAE, Saudi, and other military officers about their experience of the war in Yemen. So this was a case of a non-Western military doing the things that only the US military can typically do, like amphibious landings, precision strike, special forces activities, building local partner forces. And this was something that they did extremely well. So it was a case of seeing non-US forces doing the things US forces normally do, but also every single person within the force is Arabic speaking, understands the Arabic culture. At this moment where we're encouraging many of our partners to do more in their own defence, they will begin to also undertake unilateral operations that we may not agree with. I've always believed in the connection between strategic and tactical affairs. A lot of people talk about these two levels of warfare as if they're completely separate things. Strategic level with the generals and the leaders, tactical level with the men and women who are actually fighting on the ground. But in modern warfare, these two things are linked very closely together. And when you read 25 Days to Aden, you understand what's happening at the level of Mohammed bin Zayed and his key commanders in the United Arab Emirates, but you also learn about what's happening down at ground level, where men and women are fighting and in some cases dying. This is the kind of connection, the tight connection we want to show between tactical and strategic, because in modern warfare, the two things are very tightly coupled. One of the key characters in the book, who is slightly anonymised as Salem A, is the character who is jumping out of the back of a Chinook helicopter into the blood-warm Gulf of Aden in the middle of the night in April of 2015. He proved to be one of the key players in this entire battle, and I grew to know him very well. He was the man who dealt with all the liaison between the Yemeni resistance fighters and the Emirati forces who were coming in from outside and supporting with air power. And he's a man who had to overcome some of the unique difficulties of working in Yemen, such as fighters who turned up 12 hours late for the time of attack, fighters who were chewing cat, the narcotic leaf, for half the day. He overcame these unique issues that you don't get taught at your military training academy at Sandhurst and ended up leading them to victory. Another character who's really interesting in 25 Days to Aden is Dr. Aisha, who is the UAE female medic who had previously served in Afghanistan and other war zones. She entered the battlefront at Aden, and she moved around in civilian clothing, unarmed and without close protection, so that she could travel between the hospitals in war-torn Aden, making an inventory of what drugs they were going to need as the battle intensified. She's one of the untold heroines of the Battle of Aden, and it's great to cast a spotlight on this senior Emirati female officer who made such a big difference to the battle. The book also has significant amounts of tactical chrome, as it's known in the military history field. That means you understand what weapons are being used, you learn a lot about systems like the Javelin anti-tank missile, the Cornet anti-tank missile, the strengths and the weaknesses of Western and non-Western equipment, the sniper weapons, the air and naval gunfire support, and all the other important material that is used in this battle. It is an exceptionally well mapped military history. And that means you can follow every cut and thrust of the battle for the historic port city of Aden in great detail. The reason why the UAE deployed its armed forces in Aden to help the Yemenis defend the city is that if the Iran-backed Houthis had captured Aden, as well as having the capital Sana'a, which they'd just taken over, they would also have had Yemen's largest port, and they would have had a base on the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which controls access to the Red Sea and to the Suez Canal. This would have given the Iranians control not only of the Strait of Hormuz, where the majority of the world's oil passes through, but also the Suez Canal, where a vast majority of Europe and Asia's consumer goods are shipped from one place to another. The book is dedicated to the 5 Emirati soldiers who were killed in the fighting at Aden in 2015. And I owe a debt of gratitude to all of the Emirati soldiers and their families who hosted me to learn about this battle, and to all the Yemenis who also took me into their homes and taught me about what happened in Aden in 2015.